Hello and welcome back to the Multipliers Club podcast. Today we're joined by a very special guest, business owner, property investor, author, speaker and entrepreneur, Jazz Rose. Jazz will be sharing his story about how he went from £30 to £3 million. So let's get into it.
Jazz, thank you for joining us today. As those on YouTube can see, we're in a different studio. We're down in Brighton for the EMC over the next 3 days, and you're one of the guest speakers. So tell us, what you're going to be talking about. What's your main objective of your viewpoint you want to get out to the EMC crowd over the next couple of days?
Yeah, good question, man. My main objective with EMC is to wow the people in the room and share with them how to actually communicate the value of their products and services in a real powerful way that actually connects with their ideal client. Because a lot of people, they communicate about their products and services, but they do it in such a common laissez-faire way in terms of like the way that it's always been done or the way that they're used to hearing it. And we've got to understand that communication is the gateway to currency, right? So if you master that element of communication, how do you come across in your tonality? When do you pause between words? All of these things matter and actually make a difference to the psychological influence that you have on the other person. But most people don't realize it. They just talk, and how they talk is like, oh, that person didn't buy. Well, they didn't buy because you probably spoke too quickly. They didn't get it.
Things like that small detail makes a huge difference.
There was a really interesting comment that Sam made the other day about when you're doing your sales training, what do you say about tonality?
Oh, okay, yeah. So a lot of the time it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? So I've done an exercise for my TikTok actually, and I wrote down a quote on a piece of paper. It said, "I'm not saying she stole the money," but that sentence can mean 5 different outcomes if you exaggerate a certain word.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying she stole the money.
Yeah.
I'm saying she borrowed the money. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying she stole the money. I'm saying she stole my wallet.
Right.
But there was no money in the wallet.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So how do you, just on that, because it's a great skill, but very few people master it or even know how to learn about it. How do you learn tonality?
A lot of it is practice and repetition, and also listening back to previous calls, and a lot of it is training. Because as entrepreneurs, business owners, oftentimes we're doing the thing and we're so focused on drilling through and just doing the thing. But actually, how many of us actually practice, and how many of us actually zone into listening back to our sales calls and actually reflecting on our own performance and thinking about, okay, where can we improve that? How can we scale it up? And that's why you have things like people like mentors who can actually guide you through that process and then help you to accelerate on that journey faster.
So how did you get involved in that? Like we spoke on our podcast previously, we did NLP training, neuro-linguistic programming with
Amazing.
Steve Duran. I don't know if you've done that or probably something along the lines of it kind of crosses over. Mm-hmm. But how did you first start studying that side of things? Was it mentors or was it...
Well, I started my first business when I was 17 and I was just winging it. You know what I mean? I started, coaching football in schools and all of that sort of stuff. And I didn't realize it at the time, but a lot of what I was doing in order to get business was sales. And as I started to get bigger contracts and, hire more people and all of that sort of stuff, I had to go and learn how to actually persuade and how to communicate the value of my message in a real powerful way. Imagine I'm like 19 years old and I'm speaking to 40-year-old head teachers, telling them that I'm gonna change the impact of their school and so on. So I really had to go into just like a lot of self-learning. I was a lot of self-taught, and as I started to get self-taught in sales, and I started to self-teach myself in marketing and all of the other things around business. And it's been a fantastic journey for me.
Do you believe in natural-born salespeople, and do you think you're one of them?
I believe certain people are more confident than others in certain elements, and I also believe that everyone can be taught that skill. Ultimately, it's a learnable skill. All skills are learnable. So if you practice it, some people might start off as a 2 and you can scale them up to a 7 or an 8. Some people might start off as a 4 and you can scale them up to a 9 or a 10. But I don't think there's a natural gift of selling, but just some people are more comfortable communicating the value of what it is that they offer than others. But here's another thing, is a lot of people just aren't comfortable or confident with selling because subconsciously, as effective as they might be, or they might feel confident and what have you, subconsciously they believe that selling is bad.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah, sales is a dirty word.
Yeah, especially in the UK. It's like, don't sell to me and all this kind of stuff. But actually, once you start to reposition it and you start to think about how you can add value to the other person, and then you also reposition it in a way where it's not about telling the other person what to do, but more about asking the questions that get them to persuade themselves whether this is the right decision for them. And most commonly, it is the right decision for them. You just got to ask the right questions in order to empower them to take the next step.
For sure. I think it's Zig Ziglar. Do you know about Zig Ziglar?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah.
He says, stop selling and start helping.
Yeah.
And the art to a perfect sale is for the prospect to feel like they haven't actually been sold.
Yeah.
And I think, is it Andy Elliott? Yeah, Andy Elliott he says, make it easy to say yes to, hard to say no to, make it the client's idea every single time. Mm-hmm. How do you do that, like in a real short explanation?
I was actually on the phone to somebody before I came here, and we earing towards the end of the call. I won't explain the whole journey of the call, but he was inspired to move forward. He said he didn't have the money, and I asked him a question. I said, I can't remember his name. He said Gabriel. I said, Gabriel, totally get that, but tell me something. What's more expensive? Is it you waiting another 3 months for you to get to the 15 grand a month that you're looking for? And what's that? 15 times 3, that's 45K, right? Or do you just want to stay at the 5 grand a month that you're at for the next 3 months and potentially sort of move up to 5, 6 and just kind of like waver? What's more expensive? And he said, well, it's going to be more expensive if I wait. I said, so what do you want to do?
Closed.
He said, all right, I'm in. But he said it. He said, I'm in. I didn't tell him.
Yeah,
and that's different.
Yeah, you just had to articulate it to him.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because
Nice.
the longer he waits, the longer he's just going to be missing out on the opportunity, and then he's going to come back in 3 months and go, I'm not making 5 grand a month anymore. Now I'm making 3, so I definitely can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And what would you say? What's your advice on? I think obviously, if you're trying to sell something, money or health related, where there's quite a direct measurable. Not to say it's easier, that's not the right word, but in a different industry where you're selling something that you haven't got quite as an easy route. So potentially Jake and myself, with holidays, Jake probably charges more. Well, actually you do save people, so I won't tell people you're expensive. but you know, it's
Charge more for your services.
yeah, charge more for your services, and you're just trying to promote them going for a better service, really, or better product, whatever it may be. It's not directly this. It's going to cost them more money. You're just trying to say that we're a better fit than others out there, sort of thing. What would your advice be around that when you're trying to sell? Because that's an area that
Sell on value.
yeah, selling on the value. That's an area where I've just slightly struggled a bit myself. From if I was to be selling other stuff, like if I was to sell a course or something, a mentorship or something like that, I feel like I could technically do it a lot better than I do in my business. And trying to take these skills and implement it here is something I'm slightly struggling with at the second.
And what is it that you're selling?
So predominantly, well, we do full renovations. Predominantly the sales side, I'd say, is on bathroom renovations. Where I see it a bit more sales. I mean, it is all a sale.
Yeah. So the question becomes is what's their actual biggest desire from getting the bathroom? Because it's not the bathroom itself; it's what's the renovation is going to enable them to do. Is it going to be able to create a better family environment for them? Is it going to allow them to, brush their teeth in the morning together and have better conversations? All of these sort of things are triggering towards what it is that they actually want as an outcome, rather than, I just want nice tiles or I just want a bathroom. Do you know what I mean? And I think you're right. It is always more difficult to sell something that everybody else is selling or a lot of other people are selling, that is sort of more competing on price. And it's also about looking at what different angles can you play it from in terms of what are they actually looking for from the bathroom, but also what angles can you play it from in terms of what value can you add that's external to just the bathroom.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting for sure. I think with sales as a whole, I feel like the narrative slightly changed in terms of what people perceive to be a good salesperson now from, like the 90s boiler room. Oh, he's got the gift of the gab. But truthfully, I think if people talk too much, that's sometimes a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I feel like the prospect should talk sometimes more than you. It's like the 80-20 rule, right? What are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
absolutely. You've got to find where the gap is. You've got to find where they are, where's their problem. How do I accelerate them into the solution, and how do I demonstrate that my solution is actually a workable fit for them in a way which allows them to persuade themselves that actually it is the right fit for them. So it's all about how do I ask the right questions that starts to move that process forward in their mind so that they're cognitively thinking, okay, this is the right fit for me. How do I get in, rather than, this person's trying to sell me something.
Yeah. Sure.
So how is it at the minute? So you're helping businesses, right? So how is it that you go in, you know, what's your model? How does it work?
Yeah, so really it's a 5-step process that we teach people. Yeah, so first thing is about products, right? Is about pulling yourself away from the business in a way where you can start to at least disconnect your income from time. So what products can you put out there that means that you don't have to be constantly the person that's doing the thing? And then how do you promote it? How do you actually deliver an ad that connects with your ideal client? How do you actually deliver a social media post that actually engages them and inspires them to go, actually, I like this person. I want to find out more, in a way that's not just like, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And then it's how do you package that solution? So a little bit about what we were talking about earlier is how do you add multiple layers to your products and services so that it all starts to add significantly more value for the client and also increases your profits along the way. So in essence, why instead of selling a £2,000 thing, how can you scale it up to actually selling a £10,000 thing? And then it's how do you present that message in a real clear and compelling way that really starts to inspire the next person, the prospect, in order to take the next step.
I love that. So I was speaking to you before we started filming about, I saw one of your clips that went viral about 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, about barbershops, right? So everyone needs a haircut. I personally get a skin fade every single week.
Yeah.
You done a clip and I found it very interesting about how barbers can make more money. I think you said £100 haircuts. Talk us through how that could work.
Yeah, I can't even remember the logic of that particular post, but there's so many different ways. Like if you start to think, like barbers, for example, I went to a barbershop the other day and it was like I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't been to a barbershop in like 2 years, right? But I went there and again, it was just a disappointing service. But anyway, I was thinking to myself while I was sitting in the chair, barbers have people come into their barbershop every single day. Why do they not run an events company? Why do they not put on parties? Why do they not put on cocktail parties? Why do they not put on all of these? And I don't know what particular skill set or driver that particular barber has, but why do they've already got the market, they've already got the audience, but all they're doing is cutting their hair. I'm saying that they can do so much more than just cut their hair in order to, again, have that premium value solution so that they've already got that target audience there. Why not send them to events? Why not send them to, why not have the links to bring in to entrepreneurs conferences? Why not have the links to bring them into raves, parties, other events, other things that they might be interested in that makes people feel like, rah, I want to be a part of this barbershop. Not just I come here to get my hair cut, but actually I want to be part of this community.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I always think barbershops should offer some sort of hair loss solution. I think 1 in 3 men lose their hair. I mean, like I'm receding, respectfully, you're receding. You two are all right. Give it a couple
For
years.
now.
But people
good,
spend
mate.
like 3-4 bags on a hair transplant. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of, you can get hairlines tattooed on now as well.
Yeah.
It's called SMP. If they offered that, they could make a shit ton more money.
There you go, and they can just act as a go-between between them and the person that's doing the hair
affiliate
transplant.
marketing as well, because I think the same thing with my business, travel. Everyone goes in and they talk about what they're doing, and a lot of people are going on holiday.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why you get your haircut a lot of the time, because you're going away.
Right.
Or you've got, you know, something coming up, like a wedding, or like you say, like events.
Yeah.
They just need to have a way to make like an affiliate program.
Yeah.
Because they have the
can help with
conversation.
everything,
They know what the clients want.
Yeah, and they're in the chair talking to the clients every single day, but they're not actually doing research on how they can actually grow their business and have a
They
bigger
can monetize
impact.
off of each individual person that comes in.
Yeah,
I know someone.
and monetize. Sorry to cut you, but monetize in a real healthy way that actually gets them better results that they want, and also improves your profits as a business as well.
Yeah.
I know someone who actually did that barber thing, exactly what you said. So it's someone I know, they got a barber shop in this town, and they thought, okay, let's open another one, literally 2-minute walk away, but let's charge double the price. So they charge double the price, but they wear suits. They have beer. Like it's like a brilliant service, but it's the same haircut as they literally were getting 2 minutes away. And the shop does so well. Like people come from all over just to come there because of that place, but they're charging double the price. Like literally
The
double
same
the price.
hairdressers?
The same barbers sometimes work in other shops. Like there's not like that's it, and suddenly makes a lot double the amount of money, but it's the same amount of customers.
And that comes down to premium positioning. Something as simple as changing your attire and changing how you appear to the client can have a massive difference. You go into so many barbershops, the walls are all painted funny, one wall's blue, it all looks a bit dodgy, all that. And they're like, oh, well, we can't afford, their mindset is we can't afford anything. Well, you haven't increased your prices in the last 10 years, dude. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to level it up. And the reason that haircuts thing started because somebody relatively famous started talking about it. It was like, how come these barbers are charging an arm and a leg? They're trying to charge, I can't remember what the number was, but they're trying to charge £20 for a trim, bro. I remember when it was £7. I'm like, listen, bro, it's not 1993 anymore. Like, everybody's got to level up. And ultimately, this is the way that societies level up. This is the way that societies improve, is when people improve their price points, improve their packaging, and improve the solutions that they use to help people. And then as a result of that, everybody in their society, everybody in that community starts to level up.
For sure. So talking about right now, we're going through a recession. A lot of businesses are not making money, right? What did you say?
A who? A what?
A recession.
What's that?
A what session? I find it interesting because I get talking with business owners, even when I'm in a fish and chip shop or getting my hair cut, and just so many people are saying like they're not profiting. So what are a couple of steps that normal day-to-day business owners can put in place to have a little bit more financial benefits, I guess?
Yeah, it's like one of the key drivers is really looking at, okay, so what is what is it that my clients want? What is it that they're getting from other people that they're not getting from me? So the barbershop was a prime example, right? Like the hair shop. Like, where can I add value to my products and services, which is going to add value to my clients and also add increased profits for me? And the second thing to think about is a lot of businesses, the reason why they can't charge more, they don't charge more, is because they're commoditized businesses. So in order to create a scalable business model, you've got to come out of that sort of commoditized, I'm just competing with the other person down the road for the same product or service, essentially. You've got to find a way to make it special, to make it unique, and to make it stand out, so that you start to have a much more premium value service that stands out from the rest of the marketplace. That's different, that's unique, that people think, I've not heard of that before. I can't compete. I can't compare that to anything else. And once you start to market yourself and position yourself into a category of one, then people won't come to you and go, I can get it cheaper. Because you can't, because it's an individualized, unique, and powerful service.
For sure. I found your reaction interesting, actually, about the recession thing. The reason why, all of my mates are, I'm going to sound like an arsehole, man. All of my mates are doing quite well. They all run businesses.
Well, why does that make you sound like an arsehole?
Because then when I put the news on, it's like, it's the worst recession since 19 whatever. People are struggling. And undoubtedly, the cost of everything is going up. What are your thoughts on a recession? Can people still do exceptionally well during a time like this?
Oh, do you know what? I only started hearing the word recession within the last few years. Like, as in, I think I started my first business in a recession, but I didn't know it. I had no idea. So, like, if you block off, I know it can be difficult, right? But if you block off the negative news and all of the negative narratives that they will force into your mind, then actually you can obviously thrive in a recession. But again, it's about standing out in a category of one and making your product or service unique. You've got to really take a step back from your business and go, what's unique about this? In fact, what are my skill sets? What are my things that I'm passionate about? How can I combine different skill sets into this business, into this situation here, and then make it expand and make it attractive to more people? That's what you've really got to do.
I think I've found so far, like, our plan is to go full steam ahead through this so-called recession. Not so-called, I guess it is a recession technically, or it's going to be. But what I found now is in 2020, trying to recruit absolutely anyone was impossible. Everyone could start a business, or especially in this industry, and thrive and get work and whatever else. Now, there's some of the people I've been speaking with, from the interior designers to obviously the people on the tools and whatever else, when trying to recruit, like, some really, really good talent. Some people that have had businesses for quite a few years, and now, they're maybe not so good at sales, marketing, branding, and they're starting to slow down, and they think, you know what, sod this. Yeah, I'd rather just come work for someone. So if you know what you're doing and you're going full steam ahead and you've got a plan, it's such a good time to recruit, like, really good talent. Plus, a lot of the time, you boys will probably know this, a lot of the time people will first cut off on the advertising, the marketing, as things get tight. So if your plan is, again, to scale and actually to go to scale up the advertising and the marketing, as people are dropping off it, that's why I think, you know, so many of the largest businesses were actually made during recessions. Like I think Uber, Apple, you know, all of these brands, WhatsApp, loads of brands through recessions, because if you've got a plan and you know how to attack it, you get the best talent, you probably get cheaper marketing, you'll get so far ahead on the marketing that, especially if you're in a local area like us, you're going to get to a stage, hopefully, where you're just dominating and you're so far ahead in 3 years, 4 years, as people start thinking, you know, they're going to maybe invest a little bit in advertising again. That you've scaled up your ads. You've gone from £0 to £10,000 a month, and they're about to try 500 quid in 3 years' time. They're not going to catch you. Like, so
I
that's
think
my
Jim
plan.
Rohn talks about this as well. He says, your success isn't based on the economy, it's based on your philosophy. Facts, innit?
Yeah.
I love Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn's a boy.
He's the boy. And I actually think about all of us in business. You started full-time business same time I did with Dialer Flights, HW.
COVID.
6 months after starting a marketing agency, bang, COVID, recession, whatever.
We started
the podcast, the property business. We've always done good. We've done well. So I do wonder sometimes the narrative which is pushed in the news, it just doesn't feel like reality. To me personally. You know, do you think there's like a deeper meaning behind what we're seeing on mainstream news?
Oh, they do it intentionally. They do it intentionally in order to keep people stuck. I always tell people, like, school, the media, the popular narrative, it's not designed to make you successful. A lot of people, they stop learning once they leave school, and they're like, well, no wonder that your income hasn't grown significantly, because you stopped learning since school, college, and university. But that's meant to give you a foundation. It's not meant to give you the opportunity to scale. You've got to go outside of school, college, and university for that. But most people, they stop and they just think, oh, I'm just going to learn what I pick up along the way from other people. But actually, if you think about the journey of life, most people are around the same type of people that they grew up with throughout the majority of their life. So if everybody around you is generating 30, 40,000 pounds a year, then you generate 50, you're going to go, all right, I'm comfortable. But how about you look at that from a different perspective, and you start getting around different people? When you start getting around people that are making 500 a year, like, oh, actually they can do it, and they're not smarter than me. Actually, they don't get better grades in school than me. They're not smarter than me. They're not more experienced than me per se. They're just doing something different.
How?
Yeah. So oftentimes it's just repositioning your skill set and putting it into a new environment that allows you to scale. I always say to people, it's like you can sell houses that are 300 grand, for example, right? And you can take your commissions off that. Or you can sell the properties that are 3 million and take commissions off that. Same skill set, different environment. So if you start to reposition your skill sets and put them in different environments, it's a very easy way to actually scale your income.
Do you believe anyone on this planet right now could be rich if they wanted to?
When you say rich, define rich.
I knew that was going to come.
Wealthy.
Okay. I'd say
money.
Financially free.
Money. What's decent money though? Okay, I'm
maybe
going to say
10,000 a month.
Okay, yeah, let's go 10k a month.
10K a month.
And anyone on this planet, no, it doesn't matter what position they're in right now, anyone can get to that.
Oh yeah, if they want to. But most people don't want it.
Yeah.
They don't want to do what it takes to do.
Yeah, most people don't want to do what it does.
People want it, but
They think they want it until they find out how much work you got to put in to get it, right?
Yeah,
limiting belief.
But it's not only just how much work, but it's how different the work is that they're used to. So take an obvious example, somebody who's a janitor, for example. They're so used to work being that janitor in that school environment, they'll never think to actually go, hang on, let me look at this massive building over here, see who owns that building, see if I can refurb the whole thing, see if I can then actually put it on Airbnb, see if I can then actually be the owner rather than the person that is just responsible for doing the thing. And once I get that contract, then I can start to hire 5, 6, 7, 8 other people to actually come in and do that. And I go, hey, what are you doing being a janitor in that school over there making so-and-so 20, 30 grand a year? Come over here and I'll match your payment, but also you get to work, you'll be working less hours, you won't have a head teacher shouting down your neck, all that sort of stuff. And then before you know it, 12, 24 months down the line, you've got a team of 10, 15 people managing buildings like this, and all of a sudden you're no longer doing the thing, but you're the person that's in the office making sure that everything is dialed in and all the money is coming in. Happy days.
What would you say is your ideal stepping stones that you try to tell your clients in terms of like what sort of range do you take your clients on from? Sort of 100k?
Yeah, I mean I've helped people go from sort of like 5k a month up to 150k a month now, and up to 200 people creating from £32,000 a year. One of the girls that come through my coaching program, she was making 32 grand a year as an employee, and then now she's got a £2.5 million recruitment business.
Nice.
So she was actually a compliance manager inside a normal 9 to 5. And back in the day, through the conversation, we found out she used to do recruitment. So what's the challenge with compliance? Well, the challenge with compliance is that actually they take too long, right? The challenge with recruitment is the recruitment people, they move too fast and actually they don't hit all the components that they need to meet with compliance. So she implemented a product for the company to help them to be far more efficient in that process in terms of recruiting people quickly that were also compliant. And then once she'd done that, she took her salary up, taught her how to negotiate a salary. She took her salary up from 32K to 70. And then she thought, oh, wow, this is amazing. Now that I can do this for a company, why am I not doing this for myself?
She actually got to practice herself in a way, isn't it? Like start a business, but for the company and then leave.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she eventually left.
Paid to train.
Yeah, she eventually left, started her own recruitment business.
Or was it a bit of tech that she designed, or just the process?
Sorry?
Was it a bit of tech that she designed?
No, just the process.
Or just literally the process?
Yeah, just the process. Wow. Mapped it out into a wonderful, sort of much more efficient working flow. The company scaled, gave her a pay rise. Yeah, find the problem, solve it, and then scale it. But most people, they just go, oh, there's a problem. Let somebody else deal with it. That's not my department. That's not my thing. I'm not good at that. And all of those negative narratives. But if you start to reposition stuff, you can start to...
Making money is just solving problems, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any problem there is.
Just on that as well, I just want to go back to something you said, because I find it very interesting. I've tried to help my girlfriend previously and my sister negotiate a better salary. So there'll be people listening to this who are in salary jobs, still doing quite well, I'm sure. But like, how could they approach their employer and get a pay rise? What's the right strategy to ask your boss for a pay rise? How would you position that?
Yeah, find out what they need. So what's the biggest challenge in the company right now? What's the biggest thing that's holding the company back from getting to where we want to get to? By the way, where is it that we want to get to as an organization? And finding those bits out, and then what the steps, what the strategies that we need to take to get there. Notice the language that I'm using as well, we. So even though I'm an employee in this scenario, I'm using the collaborative term we. Why? Because everybody likes to feel like they're inclusive within a community. And also that starts to set up the sort of partnership ideology and a partnership conversation. Because ultimately you don't want to be an employee, you want to be a partner. Right? And if you can start to step into that dialogue and start to step into that psychology, it's much easier then to negotiate a pay rise. So, and they're going to go, oh, well, nobody gets more than a 5% pay rise or whatever it is. Well, to be fair, if I help you to go from X income to creating Y income, what difference is that going to make for the company? Well, that's going to be an extra £1 million in revenue. Great. So if I help you to generate £1 million in revenue, is it fair to pay me an extra 100? And they're going to go, nah, no way, we can't do that. Well, is it going to be better off for the company if the company stays where it's at and doesn't scale to the extra $1 million? What are we doing? We're planting a seed in the other person's mind. Go, actually, this person is really valuable to this company. And if you can not only talk about it, but you can also demonstrate it through your activity in the business, then there's no way you can't scale that business. Say, look, Mr. Employer, I'm not here to deliver marginal gains for this company. I'm here to make this company grow significantly. And I want to help you to do that. And I think that we can work together to do that. But we need to work out something that's fair for both of us.
I think as an employer, that if someone came to you and said, you like that, you buy into that, you think, okay, we're obviously on the same path. Mm-hmm. So I do get that. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my sales guys back in the day, my first highest paid employee at the time, he saw an advert for I think about 32 grand, and then he called me up and he said, look, I've been following you for some time and I'm interested in your company and I just really wanted to come down and have a conversation. He said, look, I'm on 70K right now, but I just want to come down and have a conversation. I said, okay, no problem having a conversation, but we can't pay you 70K. And then he came down and he said, well, where does the company want to go? And I said, well, right now we're at 2 million. We want to scale up to 3 million. He said, all right, if I can help you get to 3 million in the next 12 months, would it be fair to pay me the 70 that I'm on right now? I
love that.
What did I do? I freaking paid him. And he said, look, if you don't get to the 3 million within the next 12 months, then you just ratchet it back down to 35. How's that? It's a no-lose situation for a CEO, right or wrong?
Yeah.
So then he put me in a no-lose situation, and then bang.
Did you hit the 3 million?
Fair play.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did he do that?
Sorry?
How did he do that? What did he
How
come in
did
and
he
do
help
and
us scale up
change?
to-
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was working in a much bigger corporate company at the time doing similar things in the industry, and he had a lot of clients that he could bring over. So that was an easy entry point, wasn't it? As well as obviously, you know, he was technically skilled at sales, and he brought a lot of clients over, and as well as got new ones on board, and we, again, just looked at different ways that we can reposition our offers. So a lot of the stuff that we were doing at the time in primary schools was like PE teaching. And then we started to bridge on more. We actually stopped doing single service solutions. So we actually stopped saying to schools that we'll just come in and do your PE, or we'll just come in and do your music. But actually we started saying, actually, we're only going to work with these sorts of clients that have 3 different forms, and we're going to do PE, music, and languages. So we're only going to do 3 form. And then that was more valuable to the client because they get way more benefit from our service, and it was more beneficial to us because then we were working on a much bigger
Same
scale.
amount of work as well, right? A lot of the time. Like,
Exactly.
What do they say? They say something like 20% of your 20% of your customers account for 80% of your work.
Of the revenue. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's all the work that you keep putting in. So, so you need to switch the numbers around, right?
But a lot of people, they spend a lot of time making little bit of money rather than spending a little bit of time making a lot of money.
This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at the minute.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I had a business mentor in last week and said the same thing. Just analysed all the figures, looked at what we're doing, and somebody who's spending, you know, £3,000-4,000 on a holiday, if we get clients regularly spend 40,000, 50,000. That's the same amount of work.
Yeah,
you know, they're just one's booking business class in a nicer room.
Yeah.
One's booking economy in a lower room.
Yeah.
Maybe staying in the same hotel sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's the same work.
Yeah.
One's spending 50, one's spending 5.
Yeah. So then
You have to book 10 of those £5,000
Exactly.
for one.
Exactly.
50
Yeah. And that's what he's kind of come in and opened my mind to this. I mean, I knew, deep down you know it anyway, right?
Yes.
But you're always like, I don't want to turn that down because of X, Y, Z. Maybe you're feeding yourself with some sort of.
Yes.
I don't know.
It's hard to say no, though, isn't it? That's the
It's
thing.
hard to say
Sometimes
no.
it's hard to say no, right?
It's hard to say no.
What would you say when saying no? Because I'm sort of similar. I've been saying no for a while, but like yesterday I spoke to a woman. I've started really saying we don't really touch any project under 100K. But yeah, same thing. It's like you never know. Some of our best projects have come from the conversation didn't start as, it was a 300K job. Do you know what I mean? So it didn't necessarily start there. That's the thing. So what approach would you take like that if he doesn't want to really necessarily book the 3-4K? Do you just have to draw the line somewhere and say, look, that's not
there's
us,
there's a couple of things in there. One is to ask the right questions in terms of the clientele, because sometimes the client will say, we only want to spend, £500 or what have you. But if you ask enough of the right questions, where are you? Why is it that you want to go on this holiday? What's important to you? How many children do you have? How many family are you thinking?
Where do you usually travel to? That's the sort of questions that we're asking at the minute.
Because you can probe a lot deeper. And I did a reel on this the other day where a client wanted sort of like a £2,000 service, and I ended up turning it into a 188 grand contract, only because I asked the right questions. Right, and I asked, what the scope was, and once you find that out, then you can find a lot more nuance in the conversation. And then the second thing is, like, you were talking about. Sorry, what were you were talking about?
So the 20% of the client base make up 80% of the revenue and work.
Yeah.
So the other way around. Sorry. But then I was saying about the type of clientele we have coming in. Say like Sam said, someone that's spending 5K would have to do that 10 times to.
Yeah, and then if it doesn't,
same amount of work.
Yeah, so if it doesn't work out, and they're not actually someone that can help you scale, or somebody that fits your ideal market, then why not refer them to somebody else?
Yeah. This is where we're at the minute. Like Joe said, trying to turn people down. Because I said to my mentor the other day, like, how do I pitch it? How do I clients that we've dealt with for maybe 4 or 5 years, but they're not fitting the bracket.
Yeah.
But we've dealt with them for quite a few years. Maybe, because obviously the other thing we've got to think about is who they're going to recommend as well. But maybe we dealt with them for a few years. They're a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
They don't spend a lot of money.
And there's probably things in that area of the business, and I don't know your business, but there may be things in there that you can potentially automate or semi-automate that makes that process easier, so that actually you're not turning them away, but you're guiding them into a more efficient service that doesn't take up so much of your effort.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, it's all service based, and we all of our bookings are done over the phone or via WhatsApp or just via messaging, really. But we'll always take card payments and stuff over the phone. So people have to speak to us. We have to consult them. You know, that's part of what we offer. We make sure that they're getting the best that matches their criteria. But this takes the same time.
Couldn't you run adverts, right, and literally specify like, if you spend over 100 grand a year on holidays, and then go that avenue, because then you're going to cut out so many people. Even if you get a couple of leads there, they're obviously spend over 100k.
Yeah. Or you could slightly amend the target into, do you like to fly business class when you go on holiday? Likely, if someone flies business, they're going to spend more dough on holidays, right?
Yeah.
I think we're all at similar stages in business right now. It's quite interesting. I love being friends with these lads because we go through the similar stuff, same struggles every day.
Same shit, different industry. That's literally what it is.
We're all like mid six figures doing well in business, but boy, it's hard. It's harder to get to 7 than it is to get to 6. Alex Hormozy spoke about this on a pod. It was fascinating. Apparently, I can't remember the percentage, but it's like only 10% of businesses ever get to 7 figures and like 2% to 8 figures in terms of turnover. Why do you think that is?
A lot of people, a lot of it is commodity market. So you need to get into the right market with the right model and the right message. And then it's the opportunity that, how do you position the price point in a way that is actually far more valuable? That's one of the main things that really helps businesses scale. Because if you're selling, for example, £100 product, really way more difficult to scale that than if you're selling a £20,000 product or service. But you've got to take that, in this example, you've got to take that £100 skill set that you've got and then think about, okay, what value can I add to the client or customer that's gonna excite them to actually pay more, right? Or that's going to enroll them to actually pay more, not for the same product or service, but actually reposition in a different way that really adds significant value to them. I always say, if you want to double your income, you've got to quadruple the value. And once you start to look at things that way, that just changes the game. Like the girl that was doing £5,000 a month, she used to sell an online course for $750. And now she's got a premium service. She still has the $750 course, which is now positioned at $1,500. But now she's got a premium service, which is kind of like a done for you thing, which is $15,000. So how does people go, well, this is impossible to get to 150 grand a month from £5,000 a month. Well, she's got 15 grand product, sells it 10 times a month. It's not that difficult, right? But again, it's premium price point, premium value service, and a premium value solution.
Yeah, I agree. I read somewhere, I can't remember where, that to sell high ticket, you have to buy higher ticket for a little while. And I remember when I first started a marketing agency, I used to think people won't pay £1,000 a month for a service charge.
Right.
But now, like, that's the bare minimum we charge. And I'm seeing people paying 10 grand a month service charges. And then we all bought NLP course from Steve Duran for like 14 grand. And then I'm like, all right, cool, I'll buy high ticket now. I did start selling high ticket. But it's that transition for us still.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you have a premium service whereby you actually dial into the business itself and potentially become a partner of the business? Do you have that kind of service?
Somewhat a little bit.
In a way we do, because like we basically effectively we run marketing for like aesthetic clinics and dental practices, and we'll get them leads, but we'll actually have like a call center and we close the leads for them. Perfect. So we're directly impacting how much money they're making, really.
Yeah, completely.
And are you getting a share on the revenue that they're generating as well?
This is what we're trying to work out.
Yeah.
So it's been so much trial and error. We've lost money, we've made money with it. We're still trying to find that sweet spot. So because we're selling aesthetic treatments, we'll put someone in for a consultation for, say, let's just say like a boob job, for example, right? But we don't know if that person converts unless we have full transparency from the client, which can be challenging. So now I'm starting to charge a booking consultation fee. So every consultation we book in for a client will charge, say, £10. Book in 3 consultations a day, which is 20 a week, £200 a week, £600, £800 extra revenue a month. That's where we're at right now, but I'm thinking it must be more scalable than this because we're paying the lead callers commission on that service. Have you got any advice? Because
£10 sounds very low.
I agree.
Yeah, it sounds extremely low.
We were charging 5, but then we were like, no.
Let's double it.
I think it's because they're paying a service fee on top. They're paying a service fee already, and then they're paying extra for the caller, and then they're paying commission as well. So I think we're just trying to, it's going up a little bit every time.
But I know you said that it's difficult for transparency because sometimes you don't always know if they convert.
Correct, yeah.
But have you considered actually partnering with that corporation so that actually it's all visible, it's all transparent in terms of the income that they're generating, and you generate a revenue off that and a profit off that?
Right, here we were saying maybe like a profit share type of deal with everything we generate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I know one of our competitors, or I won't say who on this pod, but he owns percentages in a couple of clinics now.
Yeah.
And that's so smart because he actively can say to his client base, look, I market in the industry, but I own a clinic. You're going to trust that guy,
and
right?
Another question for you. How many practices do you work with roughly?
Too many. So I think we probably work with about 35. But then I've met people who I've interviewed on this podcast who have marketing agencies. They have maybe 20 clients. They're doing good 6 figures a month.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing 5 figures. I think we're doing about 45, 50K a month.
Yeah.
Too many clients.
So there's value. There's probably value in that as well, in terms of how those clients connect and interact with each other. I don't know if you do like sort of events for them, masterminds for them, that sort of thing. And perhaps if you, let's say for example, right, and I don't know your industry, we'd have to dial in more to discuss that. But let's say you know an expert from Shanghai. That expert costs XYZ to come over, right, and train these aesthetics practitioners. Then you create a mastermind of all 30 of your clients, right? They pay a premium in order to hear this specialist come in, speak. It's going to transform their dental practice. Bang, now you've got an events company as well. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So now you're generating revenue purely predicated on the fact that you know all of these clients who are actually serving a similar target audience and have similar challenges and issues. And it could be either a networking group that you create, it could be a mastermind that you can create, or it could be something else that you create.
We do aesthetics, they'll like the Marbella, taken there.
Right, there you go. Yeah. It could be retreats that you create for them. And, you know, you have that specialist person come in, everybody pays 10 grand or whatever the fee is, 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever it is. That makes sense in terms of value exchange. And then boom, you do that 3 times a year and you've got an amazing conference. Because look, people like aesthetics practitioners, again, they're so tunnel vision on what they're doing. They have very little idea about how to actually expand the business. So if you can bring experts in that share with them that journey about, okay, how this business went from 1 million to 15, how this business went from 500K to 5 million. Okay, now you've got experts coming in, and guess what? You're not doing the work. You've got a PA handling the efficiency in terms of the dates and the venues and all of that sort of stuff, and you're kind of the brand behind it.
That's a really sick idea. Outside of our client base as well, we have thousands of aesthetic and dental pieces of data on our system where we could even get a sales guy in to sell these tickets to an event. Can I ask you a question on this? Because I thought about doing masterclasses on Zoom with all of our clients before, because we can give so much value. Hypothetically speaking, if our clients are paying different service charges and they all come together, have you ever experienced that type of situation where you've got maybe 2 clinics paying very different amounts, same service? How do you kind of come around?
Yeah, good question. So long as you can justify it. Is the and
That's the hard part.
What's that?
Sam
It's more because of evolution rather than
Sam
anything else.
woke up
Some people have been
on
there
a
for ages.
Friday,
You've been there for
double the
ages.
price.
Yeah, because you've been there from the beginning. They were paying X, and now the new fee is Y.
So like we got better, so we charge more.
Yeah,
That is effectively it.
It's quite simple. Yeah, and you can set up. You know, it's about how you pre-frame the conversation around that sort of stuff. So before they come into the masterclasses and stuff like that.
No one's going to ask you that though. Probably no one's going to ask how much are you being charged. You know, it's just unwritten rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't
You
maybe
wouldn't go,
right.
well, how much you paying, mate? Like you wouldn't.
Do you not?
Not if you're on Zoom and stuff like that. Maybe if you're in person,
obviously,
maybe it's a little bit different.
of
But
course.
if everyone's on Zoom, like you said, then
Not so much Zoom. I thought Jazz's idea was brilliant about
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
events. That could be. That could
So I
be
don't
sick.
see anything like it. It's definitely something to think about for sure.
Yeah. And then again, like a package solution on that. Like most people would look at that and then go, oh, I'll just do that one conference or that one event. No. Do it 4 times a year. 4 different specialists come in. And then it's a 20 grand service rather than a 5 grand service.
Jake's rubbing his hands
brilliant.
now. He's like, yeah, I'm selling the
Yeah.
flights.
And then it's like, well,
listening
what
intently.
if people often ask, you know, what if they just want to come in for one session? Okay, well, it's 10 grand for one session and 20 grand for 4. What do you want? Yeah. Now you've repositioned everything.
And I think to add to that, to have people, you could position it that, like, obviously you guys are advertising and marketing, that's one section of your business. Say, look, what we found a lot is people might be, we're generating this, but then the operation side of the business or the mindset or whatever it might be. You get people like Jazz or someone like that to come and do talks. So it's actually completely different anyway, different kind of focusing on a different part of their business that you're offering that service. You're kind of the complete business.
Whether it's recruitment specialist, whether it's recruitment specialist, whether it's leadership, because, you know, all the people are different, arguing in the office and all of that, or in the business and all that sort of stuff. And then again, you just bring in the specialists that come in and serve the audience and give them the support they need.
Yeah,
It's adaptable with every industry.
and the initial pitch is so good because you say, look, we've been doing the marketing for years. We don't have any problem at all generating new leads, generating new clients, generating new revenue. But what we want to do is make sure you can actually have a nice lifestyle. That's why we started a business, right? Like a nice lifestyle, not a stressful time in your business. Make it as profitable as possible within your business and all the other areas. That's why we've got this thing, whatever you call it.
HW events.
Yeah, that's a wicked idea, man. He's put you on.
HW retreat.
Take action on it, man.
That's
Take
what Jack
action.
does.
Ecstatics money
Jack's actually
mastery,
done
right?
Sorry?
Ecstatics money mastery.
There's a chap we had on a podcast a couple of episodes ago. He's a self-made millionaire. He's like 21 years old, man. It's nuts. All through Amazon FBA, and he does entrepreneur retreats where his mate is a guy called George Jarvis, 3-time world champion Muay Thai. So that he flew 15 entrepreneurs out to Thailand. They stayed in like tree houses, quad bikes everywhere, Muay Thai training every day. And it was just all about becoming a better person.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's powerful because, again, it's combining skill sets, right? It's not just going tunnel vision, I do Amazon FBA, come on a recruit, I'm going to teach you Amazon FBA. He's
Well, nothing to do with
experts.
that. Yeah, it's literally to do with entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Not even to do with the industry.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah,
powerful. Absolutely.
Do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I've got several mentors.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Talk us through some of them.
Sorry?
Talk us through some of them.
Yeah, so I had a mentor last year. It really changed the game for me. I was learning a lot of speaking with him, and it's just been like a phenomenal journey in terms of, you know, I was always confident on stage. I was always confident speaking. But again, he just showed me all of the nuances, all of the high level points. And there's so many things that you do when you're communicating that you don't realize that you're doing. And it's actually affecting and negatively impacting your sales, or it might be depositioning your brand rather than positioning it in a higher premium value place. So I just learned so much about all of that sort of stuff, and it's just been an amazing journey for me, man.
And is that someone, what background did they come from? A lot of
Speaking.
public speaking, yeah. And how did you come across that person?
Online, online, saw his YouTube stuff, went to an online sort of webinar sort of thing, turned it off. I was like, nah, not interested in that. I was like, I just need to buy it. I'm not interested in sitting through the 2-hour presentation online or whatever. So I found the company phone number online, called them up, and bought the program.
Staying on that for a moment. So in terms of communication, right? People say, I think it was Les Brown. You can probably tell I'm into my motivational guys. Right?
Oh yeah, love it.
He
man.
says, work on what you say when you open your mouth, because when you open your mouth, the world will judge you on what you say.
Absolutely.
Right? And of course, the way you articulate yourself is important. What would you say are bad communication habits that people can work on? What are common bad communication habits that you've learned through your mentoring and your career?
Unintentional fillers are a conversational killer.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Unintentional. So what do you do? Basically, if your product or service is basic, nobody bloody wants to buy it. Like, you know, language is a real powerful thing. And as we said earlier, like when you use the right language, it really starts to elevate your positioning. It elevates the success of your clientele. It elevates everything around you. But when you use the wrong language, again, a lot of it is unintentional and just like you're not aware of it. But if you don't know, then you won't grow. Right.
Sure.
So again, it's just like understanding all of the nuanced points of conversation, communication, effectiveness at doing that, whether it's tonality, body language, eye contact, all of those sorts of things. If you notice when a lot of speakers speak on stage, they're like glazing over the audience, or they're looking down at the floor, and it's like disconnected from the audience. So they might be saying great things, but then a lot of people are disassociated with it because they seem disassociated with it and they're looking at the floor rather than looking at the person.
It's hard, isn't it, I suppose, when
Yeah.
you're up on stage and where to look. You get trained that though, don't you? You get mentored
Absolutely.
What was that saying? You said, I love that. Unintentional
Fillers. So you notice when people speak, they will have a lot of a lot of dithering, which then imagine if you're having a conversation with somebody and you're trying to spend money with their business and they sound jittery or confused or like they're unsure, then you're also going to feel somewhat unsure. Now, there's a skill in intentional fillers. Now, intentional fillers are pacing the words intentionally in order to draw attention to you. See, I noticed that you looked up when I kind of paused. See, using those fillers intentionally can work, but most people do them unintentionally and they're scattered all over the place and they have no control over the conversation, and then it depositions their authority. And when you deposition your authority, then you weaken the amount of pounds that you can make.
Mate, that's so true. I actually got a TikTok hater a couple of days ago because I said, and somebody commented, learn how. They were like, learn how to speak, you stupid fuck. And then I was watching back some of my content, and you start to analyse yourself. And I thought to myself, damn, I do say quite a lot without realising. It's quite hard to not say
So I notice everyone is like it's always like we all do it as well on the podcast. But I notice we're getting better since it started. But
definitely,
that's why we did the podcast as well, because we knew we needed to get better at a lot of things. Communication, getting in front of camera, and this forces you to do it because you can't hide from this. So like I notice, like we say a lot, we do a lot of the
ums,
It's like
Like,
do you know what I
Don't
mean?
you think though you pick up certain lingo or like linguistic, like I just said, like you pick up linguistic patterns from your friend groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a group of friends years ago and they lived in Worcester Park, and they always said before they spoke, so truthfully, what I'm saying is this, and truthfully that. And then before you know it, after a couple of months of chilling with them, I was starting sentences saying truthfully. I was like, no, I've got to get this out of my vocabulary. So, for example, people say, how can you try and train yourself to not say Is there like a strategy, tactic to it? What you can
record yourself.
Okay.
Record yourself. Listen back. Slow down your words. Think before you speak, so that you can get your words out in a confident and clear way that doesn't have unintentional fillers. Another word that people use a lot, especially in sales, going back to there, is think. How do you think that can help your business grow? Think about that for a moment.
How do you think?
You see, do people make decisions on sales based upon emotion or logic?
Could it be both?
Mainly emotion.
Most time emotion, right?
Emotion a lot of the time, right?
They make the decision with the emotion and then they back it up with logic. So why is it that when people are on the phone or communicating with somebody face to face, that they're asking them to think logically about something?
How do you feel?
Their decision-making process isn't logical. If their decision-making process was logical, they'll probably already have the success that they want. But you've got to ask them, well, how do you feel about that? And it repositions and it reprograms how they actually think into the question or how they actually process the question. And then they give a different response based upon that. Just that simple word, think, change for feel, start to generate a lot more sales for you.
That's true. There's a couple of speakers that I listen to, right? And they're very articulate, but they haven't lost their lingo to a certain extent.
Yes.
You get some people that still sound a little cockney, but they do, they're powerful at speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finding the balance when you're trying to transition into a great speaker, is it important to keep that certain level of authenticity?
Yes, 100%. 100%. You've got to be 100% real. You've got to be 100% yourself. Oftentimes, the way that it works is you start practicing and you start mimicking and emulating the person that you've learnt from. And then over time, sometimes 3, 6, 9 months, you start to find your own sway with it. You start to find your own pattern, because often you're following a model. And that model is good, and you're kind of like, okay, I just need to follow the model. Once you get comfortable and confident with the model, it's like, right, I'm going to express my own way into this now.
Nice,
So like for example, like my webinars, like when people come to my masterclass or whatever, the first thing they're doing is they're seeing me dancing. And they're like, what on earth is this guy on? Like, you guys thought you came to make money. I came to bust a move, kind of thing. And again, it lightens people up, right? Because you don't want people coming to your stuff. Now, the people that I learned from would never do that. It's not their thing. But again, I've added my own flair to it, my own personality to it. So what you were saying earlier about, you know, how your friends used to speak and all of that, you add a little bit of that personality and your own edge into it, whilst also having the professionalism and the professional model to kind of solidify what you're saying.
Yeah, sure. I love that. I'm finding myself currently, I'm going through quite a big self-discovery journey with the person I'm trying to become and the person I am. So, for example, the person I'm trying to become doesn't go to the pub every single Friday, or goes raving every single Saturday, and is on a come down every single Monday. So the past year, I've detached myself, still love them dearly, but detached myself from a lot of people within my life. And sometimes I feel that can be, at times, a little bit lonely, especially when you know you're going a certain direction, but you can't do the same things you were doing to propel to get to that next level. How important do you think it is to change your environment when you're trying to get to that goal of where you're trying to go to?
Massively. Your environment will dictate your performance. One of my old mentors, Daniel Priestley, said that, and I've wrote it down and I never forgot it. Your environment will dictate your performance. So who you're around will have a massive impact and influence on how you behave, what you do, who you speak to, the amount of money you make, what kind of fun and intensity you have with life. All of that is impacted by the conversations that you have and the people that you speak with. I remember at the start of this year, I wrote it down on my wall and I just stuck it there. And I was just like, no common conversation, no casual conversations. And I was just like 100% drilled in and focused on what I wanted to achieve. And then once I achieved it, then I started to loosen up a little bit, but I had to be very intentional on the people that I was speaking with and the frequency of those conversations as well. Because if you want to put yourself in an elevated state, then you've got to make sure that you're speaking to people who are sort of elevated towards where you want to go. So here's another thing that I did this year is I literally cleared out I said, right, my goal is to been doing 7-figure businesses for a long time. I've never done 8 figures. Like, I want to do 8 figures. I was like, all right, clearing out every single person that doesn't do 8 figures is not a client. So on my Instagram, I just cleared out everybody. Not like any disrespect to anybody, but I just like cleared out everybody because I was like, I only want to listen to people that are in the space that I want to elevate towards.
Nice.
And sometimes not doing that, sometimes listening to the people who aren't on that wave can give conflicting advice or conflicting narratives. And it's kind of like, it stops you from propelling forward.
I love that, man. I love that. So when one of my first ever mentors, a guy called Alfie Valentine, he's on Instagram called Being Alfie now, amazing content. So when I was in alternative investment sales on my first day, he had 5 of us in a meeting room, right? And they were all openers for the phones. He said, 3 of you aren't going to make it. 1 of you is going to do all right. And 1 of you is going to be a superstar. And I always believed it was going to be me. Right? And I hope he's listening to this. Yeah. Right? But then the next thing he said was, delete everyone in your phone book except from 5 people. I was like, what?
Love it.
Because at the time, I was like, I think I was 18. I had a lot of friends, loads of friendship groups. I've got to say, I didn't do it, but I never succeeded in that industry. And I bet the guy that did do it, he probably did.
Wow. You know? Interesting.
I wish I went into that industry at a later age because I was just young, wet behind the ears, still a massive party boy. But the lessons I learned from it, man, were incredible in terms of mindset.
Yeah, fantastic. How long do you do it for?
Probably about a year, 2 years.
Yeah, we've done
it for a while as well.
about a year as well. Yeah, but that's where we learned everything with mindset, money, like.
Yeah.
So during that just transitional period, what did you do to put yourself in front of more of those people that you wanted to spend time with?
Invested in more mentorship programs and literally cleared out my social media from anyone that wasn't in the position that I wanted to elevate to or wasn't a client.
It's even like friends and family and stuff like that. I
mean, I'm only talking like Instagrams, like social media stuff, of course. Of
course. Yeah, but I mean, on social media. So you unfollowed, because I'm putting myself in your shoes, maybe what I should do next.
Yeah, but like I love my family. I speak to them quite often, but they're archived in my WhatsApp group. Like, they're just archived, right? Because like I'll check it once every week or once every couple of weeks or whatever. But most of the conversations is not where my energy is focused right now. So it's about being able to have that love and affinity for people that you care about, but also have that focused energy of, okay, this is where I am. This is what I want to do. This is what my goals are, and these are the actions and activities that are going to align with that. And then just creating that harmony that works for you. Because I'm not one of them people that's like, cut off all your old friends and all of that sort of stuff. You can do that, but the way that I process it is not to cut people off necessarily, but it's more, okay, how frequently do I want to speak to these people? Or what conversations am I going to have if I am going to speak to these people? So a lot of my old friends that I grew up with, it's not that I don't speak to them anymore, they don't speak to me anymore. Why? Because I only have elevated conversations. And oftentimes that makes people feel uncomfortable and they stop answering my calls. So I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. Like, it's not like a hate thing. It's like, we still have love and respect for each other, but those are not the people that I need to be speaking to every week.
What would you say with mindset, where would you place that in importance of success?
Oh, it's everything, man. Like you can't build a successful tower on weak foundation. The mindset is the foundation. And people often say like, oh, you know, I don't need mindset or what have you, right? But you have to understand that there's always an elevated level. There's always an elevated level, and understanding that you're always going to have negative triggers, and it's about how quickly you can get rid of those negative triggers that are causing you to actually stay in the same position or stay stuck and not elevate. So when you have people that are ahead of you, that have a different level of mindset, then it's about them feeding into you, pouring into you, so that you can start to switch away from those negative triggers and start to accelerate to more positive ones. And in a clear financial sense, that often means more money. Because someone will say, oh, well, I make you can be sitting in a room and go, oh, I make 100K a month, I make a lot of money. But excuse me, when you're sitting in a room next to someone that makes $1 million a month, you feel small.
Yeah.
And you feel like, okay, well, that takes a different mindset to get to $1 million a month, right? It takes a mindset of not being comfortable at 100 grand a month. So this is why you need to associate yourself with people that are ahead of where you're at, because just simple conversations that they have. I was in a mastermind earlier this year, and a lady on the table beside me said, she's like, oh yeah, how's everyone been getting on? How's things been going? Lady over there just went, yeah, well, we did 5 million in our launch last month, but blah, blah, blah's going wrong, and I'm not really sure. And I was like, you did 5 million last month? You're a G! I said, I want that sort of energy. Let me rub shoulders with you, look a bit more. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's a mindset shift, and there's so many different levels. So it's never like, oh yeah, I've mastered my mindset, I'm good. No. There's always.
She's got the growth mindset, definitely. Yeah. Like, she's done 5 million. She
was complaining. She was complaining, and I was like, I like that, because she knows that there's another level.
I did a TikTok on it the other day on that kind of, what did I talk about? I said about stopping and reflecting. I said I rarely do it. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether, you know, how important it is to do or not to do. I think it's just me. I don't really do it. When I say that, I mean reflecting on how far you've already come or what success you've already achieved. I think I don't really do it, probably just because I don't feel like I've really achieved any true levels of success yet, but maybe it will come, or maybe it probably won't come, just because that's how I am. But I talked about there's always going to be headaches, and because I stopped for a second the other day, that's why I made a video on it. And the headaches right now compared to 3 years ago, 3 years ago, literally there was many weeks where we couldn't afford to pay the wages of the guys when it came to the end of the week, and I had to pay it from my own personal pocket or my other business, which luckily I was in a position to do so we always paid them on time, but the actual building company wasn't in a position to pay wages, and that is headache. Or you spent the VAT money because you needed the cash flow, and now you got a VAT bill, and it's like, oh shit, like they were genuine headaches of fuck. And the first 2 years I wasn't really paying myself, so you're doing all of this for you know, well, obviously to build the business, but at the time, no financial benefit to yourself. And that is genuine headache. And then I thought about it now. I had just came off the phone to my brother-in-law. We were just saying it's headache at the minute. We're trying to find, you know, the new office is delayed, and had my PA start today, and I've got an interior designer start. I need this office space. We need a QS. We need more guys on the tools, because if we land this job, we're going to have, like, you know, for the first time, 7 figures of work running at the same time. Brilliant. And that is headache, but it's a much, much better headache to have than the one 3 years ago. And that's what just made me stop and think. And I thought, you know what? If that's the thing that's going to make me happy today, thinking that I've got a better headache, then so be it. But yeah, it's really interesting, even to yourself, within a small gap, 3 years, really, the difference is huge. Like to think 1 minute you can't pay the wages, next minute you're talking about 7 figures at one time. And it was just interesting. It was just my thought of the day.
Gratitude, man. Show where you're at, because you're always, you know, that's powerful, because you've grown, and you've also recognized that you've grown. So a lot of people grow and they don't recognize or appreciate or acknowledge the fact that they've actually grown. So they stay in this slump state, like, and everything is aggressive. And it comes across in their tonality. It comes across in how they talk to their staff. It comes across in how they communicate with their clients. And then they wonder why their business isn't growing. It's because they're walking around with that kind of defensive mindset, that defensive attitude, which is kind of pushing people away rather than pulling people towards you. So it's great that you've acknowledged that, brother. Yeah,
it was it's interesting to just think about it. I think we're all too probably focused on just
The
getting
end
big.
goal.
Yeah, the end goal getting bigger and bigger, and you kind of what the thing is. The whole time we're reinvesting, we all have the mindset. We reinvest in mentorships, we reinvest in staff, we reinvest in whatever it might be. So I guess for good reason, for long-term reason, but that pot of the business doesn't just keep, doesn't grow right now as you don't see.
Reap the
you don't
benefits.
see the benefits so much personally, especially. So yeah. That's why I guess sometimes we get a bit too caught up in just the future, the end goal, because we're not really reaping the benefits as such.
Planting seeds for success, man.
But yeah, when would you say on that? When would you say is the time? What's your thoughts on taking from business to personal and reaping the rewards as such? In terms of, is it you just keep reinvesting, and then you hit a certain level and you start rewarding along the way, or what's your kind of thoughts or beliefs on that?
Yeah, good question. It's all about percentages and knowing what you're comfortable with. So setting up an automated system. So for example, if you've got 100 come in, then 20 goes to your personal, whatever it is for you. But everybody has a different financial equilibrium of where they're comfortable. So for some people, they might have 50 grand saved up, so they don't necessarily need to pay themselves in that sort of startup phase, and they're comfortable with that, or they only need to pay themselves the 1,200 a month in order to be efficient on tax or whatever it is. Some people are comfortable with that, whereas some people actually need to pay themselves in order to live their life and do the things that they want to do. So maybe paying 2 to 5 grand a month is what you should do. But one thing that I have learned as well is always pull money out of the business and don't keep it stuck in the business. Because otherwise, the business will start to control your life rather than you control the business. And if you are going to do that, because I understand that there are nuances, have a cutoff date and go, by this date, I'm paying myself 5, 10, whatever it is per month, because that's the process that we need to go through. The business has got to live on its own, and you've got to be able to pay yourself to do that, because if you don't, you're only investing in the business. So I always tell people, look, invest in the business, yes. Invest in yourself first, invest in the business second, invest in a property portfolio third, and then invest in a stocks portfolio for liquid cash. So once you start to spread your assets and you start to spread your investments like that, actually you become way more balanced and you're way more like harmonious with what it is that you're doing. So for example, COVID 2030 comes and you've got all your money invested in your business. Game changer, you're mess. But if you've got a property portfolio, you've been investing in other assets, yes, it's a sticky situation, but actually you've still got something else that's paying you relatively passively on the side.
Have you got any advice as to how you can take your money from the business in a tax efficient way to go through into other investments like property, like stocks? You got any advice on that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, tax advice on property. Obviously, you probably need to speak to an accountant to get kind of like...
This is not
financial advice.
Yeah.
So one of the key things that I do is to always invest in property through a property vehicle. So have a property company rather than do it through your personal name, especially if you're a experienced business owner and somebody that's making sort of more than, I don't know what the exact number is, but if you're making more than like 60 grand a year as a business owner, zero or thereabouts, and you should be doing it typically, there's nuance, but typically through a business so that it's more tax efficient and so that you can just kind of like offset, and it's not hinged upon you if anything goes wrong, but actually it's a limited company that the investment.
You can move it from like your main business to the business. Doesn't have to come to you
company.
And then, yeah, fine. It's a holding
That's a
company.
good
You
question.
set up a
Yeah.
holding company and you have it as a separate business, but then you can offset the profits between the two.
Yeah, and it's called it's like a director's loan, right? So then you just...
Staying on
and then
property.
you also, just to add to that, is you want to have a written agreement as well between yourself and the company, so that if you loan that money, that company can actually pay you interest, so that as you're withdrawing, let's say you put in £100,000,
Your own personal
right now
money.
from
Your
one to the other,
business.
then you can that would be a director's loan, and then you can pay probably right now, it has to be a fair rate, probably about 10% interest annually, so that actually if you're taking 10k profit, but you're just paying the interest, if that makes sense. Do you see what I mean? So that 100k owed is still going to sit there. Whereas if you didn't do that and you take 10k out, now you're owed 90k, 10k out. And once you get to zero, you're going to start paying tax. So it's just another.
Yeah,
additional
just staying on
benefit.
property for a moment, right? So I've listened to a lot of podcasts.
And I'm not a tax
from,
specialist either. So.
I've listened to a lot of podcasts on. Do you ever listen to Patrick Bet-David, PBD?
Legend.
Yeah, I love him, man. I've watched something recently about him talking about the World Economic Forum. Do you know about the World Economic Forum? You heard of it?
Not so much. I've heard of it, but I don't know.
I don't know much about it either. But in the podcast, it basically said the S&P 500 companies, the CEOs of those companies, they're all part of the WEF. Putin's part of it. Rishi Sunak's part of it. Tony Blair's part of it. And they make mission statements every single year, and they put it on the WEF website. And one of the mission statements was, "You will own nothing and be happy." Right? And then PBD elaborates on that, and he talks about how they don't want people to continue to own assets, own their home. It's like when we got taken off the gold standard, now money's backed by nothing other than promise. Then it makes me think about the property market. I think deep into this stuff, man. I lose sleep over it. So what are your thoughts about the future of the property market? Because seeing what's happening right now is mad in terms of the interest rates. Do you think there's still a solid foundation for the property market for decades to come, or do you think it's going to become harder to have that model?
One thing that we've got to understand is that as time progresses, things always become more challenging. But what also happens is that technology also advances, which means that yes, it's harder to get things started, get things scaling, etc. But also we've got so many technological advantages that we can actually utilize to soften the blow and make it easier. So society often kind of balances itself out in that way. I don't know about the World Economic Forum so much, but I know for me, I'll certainly be investing in property, but also it's like investing in other regions as well. So I'm looking at investing in Dubai now, for example. I've already got a property portfolio here, but my next investment will probably be in Dubai. Why? Because there's more opportunity out there. The tax efficiency is far superior. So it's looking at different options and opportunities like that and how you can still leverage based upon what you've already got.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Talking about Dubai, do you think that's the place to be for entrepreneurs now? Or do you think the UK still has a strong dominance or prominence to building a successful business?
It depends. I think a lot of it depends on personal choice. But a lot of people, they say, oh, you know, I would never go to Dubai or what have you. But all of the people that have been there that I know are thriving and having a happy life, you know, doing amazing things. So there's amazing opportunities over there. As with anywhere in the world, there's downsides over there. There's downsides over here. There's also amazing benefits over here as well. So I think, here's the thing, right, is when people make decisions, you've always got to look at all of the options, weigh them up, and then make a powerful decision from there. Here's the mistake that people make, is they make a decision based upon only having experienced one thing. It's a limited opportunity. So I'll give you a fine example. 2 days ago, I was out playing with my daughter, and then I decided to look on the app, look on the website, and I went to test drive a Tesla. And I was surprised because it was 2:30, and they said, oh, come and see it at 3 o'clock, come and test drive it. Now, 3 years ago, I bought a Range Rover that got stolen, as you know, right? Bought a new one, like an idiot, right? Bad decision. Anyway, so I go and test drive this Tesla, and the guy gives me the card and goes, okay, just come back when you're ready. And I was like, what? This is amazing. Like, don't you come in? It's like, no, it's all secure, it's all technological, we know where the car is, etc. Just come back when you're ready. When I test drove the Tesla, and I've test driven Bentleys, and I've kind of had my sights on getting a Bentley Bentayga for the last few months. When I test drove the Tesla, I was like, this is a different world. It makes driving so efficient, so smooth. I was just like, oh my goodness, I need this car. But I never would have known that unless I actually went and test drove the Tesla. Not to mention it's far more economical and etc. than what I was initially had my sights on, which was a Bentley. I was like, no. The drive is actually better for me personally. And I know people are going to go, go and test drive both and just have your own opinion. But my opinion, in my experience, the test drive is a much smoother and more efficient drive. So I was like, I'll get that then. But I never would have known that unless I had taken the action to actually go and have a look at it and actually test drive it.
I saw your Instagram post about the Tesla, actually. I found it interesting. You said, why is there such a big gap in between the seats? And you dropped your phone on the gap and it started charging your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, Bentley don't have that.
Really?
That's like convenience.
That's crazy.
And I don't know if you guys heard of regenerative braking.
Yeah.
What's that?
So the guy was telling me about it, and as soon as you take the foot off your accelerator, the car starts braking for you as if it was already in cruise control. And I was like, well, at first I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. But then when I got used to it after 2 or 3 minutes, I was like, this is brilliant because I'm hardly having to switch my feet, and then kind of like I'm having to be less cognitive about what I'm doing when I'm driving, which makes me far more relaxed. And I do a lot of long distance journeys. So I was like, this is beautiful. And the cruise control goes down to 0. What does that mean? So when you're on cruise control, usually in most cars, it goes down to 20 and then the cruise control automatically switches off, which means that you need to put your foot back on the accelerator and kind of focus on driving again. It goes down to 0 and then it will just gear up back to where it was in the first place. So I was like, it's like driving on autopilot. And I don't like driving. So that comfort and efficiency for me, I was like, game changer.
Sold.
You're kind of making me want a Tesla.
Yeah. And you don't have to be in a petrol station ever again. Brilliant.
Have you got an affiliate link?
I haven't got one yet, mate. I haven't got one yet.
That's cool. What's next for you then? What's next for Jazz Rose?
What's next for me is helping more business owners scale their businesses, man, and just helping more people scale. I've recently trained up my mentoring team as well to deliver some of the mentoring sessions on my behalf as well. And like the feedback from them has just been absolutely phenomenal. So I just love helping business owners to scale up because I've been through the pains and I've been through the difficulties and the challenges. And there's so many times that I've just shown people different ways to do things, different strategies, different tactics. And I just love helping business owners scale up, and I just want to do it more.
What's your approach then when someone comes to you for help on scaling up their business? How does it work?
Yeah, so usually I invite people to a free event, a free masterclass called the Systems to Scale Masterclass. And I show them effectively how to scale their business, how this models out. And I kind of give a couple of demonstrations, etc. And then I invite them to join our live 4-day in-person training where I coach, guide and mentors them from stage. Small, intimate room of about 30 people typically, so that everyone can get the right level of coaching, guidance and support that they need. So the way that works and the reason why it works effectively is because I'm there for an hour. I'm teaching you on a specific topic, okay, how to package a product, etc. And then after that 45 minutes of me actually teaching you what to do, then I'll go, right, how do you package your offer? And they'll go, oh, I don't know. And then I show them in front of the group how to do it and how to elevate it. And then they go out and do group activities, group exercises. So actually implementing it in the program rather than just taking notes and then going, I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to implement this on my own. We actually give them all the support that they need over the 4 days. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Incredible.
Nice. And what type of businesses do you mainly focus on? Listeners.
Yeah, typically businesses giving expert advice. So typically that's coaches, consultants, experts. So people of that stature, people of that nature, people that are sort of people that have an established business already. It's kind of like our target audience now, and then scaling them up to past the 6 figures and scaling beyond 7 figures as well. Yeah. And like for me, a lot of people think, Jazz, you just talk about money so much, but ultimately it's about what money can afford you to do. Like it really touched my heart the other day when one of my clients, Ashley, he was actually a contractor making 60 grand a year, just August last year when he joined our programs. He came onto our online program. He did that. It's an 8-hour online program. And then he had the triggers to actually switch. He made 38 grand in the first 30 days of doing our online program.
Wow.
And then he joined in August, and then by December, he sent a message in the group. He goes, "This is sensational. I've made 100 grand." And I said, "Dude, you've got to come to Money Mastery Live." Because he's been putting it off, right? It's like, I'm busy and all that. I said, "You've got to come to Money Mastery Live." He came to Money Mastery Live, and within 30 days of that, he created a 250 grand contract.
Oh, that's crazy. Talking about money as well. So
Sorry, because the point that I was making with that is what touched my heart was, yes, he's made over £500,000, etc. now from my training, but he had a wedding a few days ago and he shared it with me and he said, "Thank you so much for the advice, guidance and support you've given me. It's allowed me to have an amazing wedding without thinking about the stresses of what I can and can't afford." And I was just like, dude, sensational, man. So that's why I do it and that's why I love it.
You said something on your page, I really liked it when I was doing my research. You said a lot of people say money is a tool, but you don't think it is. You think it's spiritual.
It is.
Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, well, for clarity, it is a tool, but it's also way more than that. Because a lot of people say, well, it's just a tool. It's like you can use a hammer to break a house down, but you can also use it to build a house, right? But the problem with that narrative is that, well, that means that you don't need a hammer, do you? But you actually need money. So money is a spiritual blessing. And it's about empowering one another in a community in order to utilize money in an effective way to make the community far better off. And that's what money is all about. It's a spiritual blessing that we all need to utilize in order to share in an efficient way that helps other people to become more successful, more harmonious, more happy, and live more abundant lives.
Do you think money buys happiness?
Money is not designed to buy happiness. I always say to people, like, you don't go outside, look at the grass and go, oh, the grass doesn't make me happy though. Right? It's not designed for that purpose. Money is neutral. It's about utilizing money in order to do the things that actually give you freedom, time, and peace of mind to do things that actually make you happy. Right? So like Ashley's example, you know, amazing holiday, amazing wedding abroad, etc. It allows them the freedom, the option to do that. Money gives you options. And if you utilize those options in a powerful way, then money will always be an abundant blessing for you rather than a burden.
I love that.
Nice.
You get a lot of sayings. There's a saying, money is the root of all evil. Do you think that's true? I don't think it's true either.
Yeah.
But you hear that a lot, right? And it's usually in the working class environments.
Yeah.
The poorer environments.
People that don't know how to make money just always have something bad to say about people with money, innit?
Yeah. And I'll give the example of a guy called Frank, right? He grows up in a place called Struggle Village. Everybody in the community is struggling. Hundreds of years ago, he drives around in his van and he sees a table outside a lady's house. The lady's called Lisa. He says, excuse me, what are you looking to do with that table? She says, well, I'm waiting for the council to come and pick it up, but they're going to charge me £20 for it. He said, well, actually, I'm a carpenter. I'd love to refurbish your table, make it nicer. And in essence, I'll pay you for it. I'll pay you £10. She said, oh, brilliant. Okay, brilliant. She said, I'll help you carry it into your van. Thank you very much. So he gives her the tenner. He carries the van. He takes it to the local B&Q at the time. He pays them a £10 for the nails, the varnish, etc. B&Q's now better off financially. And then he makes it nice. And then he goes round the neighbourhood and asks everybody if they want a table. And finally he comes to a lady's door and she says, actually, my daughter's getting married. We need some more tables. But actually they're charging like £100 in the shop to take this table. And we just don't have the money right now. We've kind of said, well, look, I've got a refurbished table in my van. Have a look at it. If you like it, you can have it for 50 quid. She says, oh my goodness, this is exactly what we've been looking for, and it's going to save me £50. Thank you very much. She takes the table, give him £50. Overall, the first lady that he's helped, he made her money because she was going to spend 20, but she actually gained 10. So she's made 30 quid. B&Q's, they're 10 quid up, minus their expenses. The other lady, she was going to spend 100 quid, now she spent 50. She's 50 quid better off. He's £20 or so better off. Everybody in the community, and as you start to do this more and more, you find that everybody in the community benefits. So the question I often ask people is, in that situation, then who loses?
No one.
Nobody.
Everyone wins.
So how can money, and over time, that community doesn't become struggle village, but now that community becomes success village because everybody is helping each other to grow. And that's the spirit of entrepreneurship. And that's the spirit of helping people and actually charging for it. Because here's the antidote to that. Here's what happens if he doesn't charge for it. Everybody stays broke.
Yeah.
Everybody stays stuck and everybody stays, just having enough to survive. We don't really want that. We want money to thrive.
That's what a thriving economy is, isn't it?
I love
Exactly that.
This has got me really looking forward to EMC.
EMC.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Are you on tomorrow?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Got ya.
One final question. Books, podcasts, anyone to follow on social media? Any recommendations?
I read a really good book. Well, I haven't read it actually, but I know it's good. There's a guy called Jeremy Minor. Been following him for some time.
Yeah, we follow him.
I like him.
His content is sensational. Other than that, you guys have been mentioning the guys that I always follow. The Jim Rohns, the Alex Moses, etc. Yeah, they're all great.
Nice.
For sure.
Well, yeah, thank you for coming on.
Where do people find you on socials?
Yeah, find me on YouTube at Mr. Jazz Rose or Instagram. That's where I hang out at Mr. Jazz Rose. That's MRJAZZROSE. Give us a holler and yeah.
Perfect. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, Jazz.
Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure,
Boom.
man.
Wicked, man.
Thank you very much.